Let's talk about Canada, our famously polite neighbor, where even the geese seem apologetic. But beneath that calm exterior, a bitter feud is brewing over milk. While we're enjoying Christmas, American and Canadian officials are gearing up for a trade battle that could sour relations fast. This isn't just a minor cheese spat, it's an economic showdown with billions of dollars and thousands of jobs at stake. At the heart is the USMCA. America wants more access to Canada's protected dairy market, but Canada's not budging. American farmers see a huge market next door but can't get in. They're furious. The US wants to sell its surplus milk. Canada wants to protect its family farms and rural communities. It's a clash of economic philosophies and national pride, with far-reaching consequences. Trump has threatened to pull out of the deal if the US doesn't get its way, risking chaos. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada's dairy system is non-negotiable. It's a classic standoff, economic chicken with milk trucks. As the 2026 review approaches, the question is, who blinks first, or do both sides crash, leaving a costly mess? To understand Canada's stubbornness, you need to know about supply management, a system that's practically sacred there. Created in the 1970s, it's a fortress protecting Canadian dairy, poultry, and egg farmers from global market chaos. The government controls how much milk is produced by issuing expensive quotas. No quota, no milking. This keeps prices stable and prevents market floods, unlike the US free-for-all. The government also sets minimum prices, ensuring farmers make a living and rural communities stay afloat. The third pillar: massive tariffs. Once a small quota of US dairy is filled, imports face tariffs up to 300%. These tariffs keep most foreign dairy out, making the Canadian market exclusive to its own farmers. For Canadian farmers, it's brilliant. For Americans, it's infuriating. The system is fiercely defended, especially in Quebec and Ontario, where dairy is a cultural and economic cornerstone. It's about preserving family farms, even if Canadians pay more at the store. That's why Canada won't back down. From the US perspective, Canada's system is unfair and violates the spirit of the USMCA. American officials see Canada's tariffs as a wall locking them out of a market they were promised. The US argument, free trade should mean free trade. Let American dairy compete in Canada. The main complaint is about tariff rate quotas. The USMCA increased US access, but Canada allegedly allocates quotas to favor its own processors, blocking high-value American products. It's like being invited to a buffet, but only allowed to eat the lettuce. Ironically, the US has never hit the quota limits, proof, they say, that Canada's system is rigged with non-tariff barriers. This frustration unites US politicians, who accuse Canada of dumping surplus dairy proteins globally, hurting American exporters. With US milk production surging, the pressure to find new markets is intense. American farmers see Canada as the logical place to sell their surplus. They're demanding real access, not just token quotas. The US wants a level playing field and they're not backing down. For them, this is about fairness and survival. The dairy war is on. Canada is digging in, defending supply management as essential to food sovereignty and rural life. Prime Minister Carney says it's non-negotiable. Politically, it's untouchable, especially in Quebec and Ontario. Canadian farmers argue their system provides stability, unlike the volatile US model that leads to bankruptcies and farm consolidation. They see supply management as a social contract, steady, local food supply, even if it costs more. It's also about national sovereignty. Canada insists on the right to set its own farm policies, just as the US subsidizes its farmers. Parliament even passed a law barring future trade deals from touching supply management. Canada says it's already made concessions in past deals. Further demands are overreach. For Canadians, this isn't just about trade, it's about resisting pressure from a bigger neighbor. They're not backing down. If Canada's supply management falls, the impact would be swift and dramatic. Canadian dairy farmers would face a flood of cheap US products, likely driving many out of business. The value of production quotas, often used as loan collateral, would collapse, risking a rural financial crisis. Entire communities in Quebec and Ontario could be devastated, with job losses rippling through the economy. Consumers might see lower dairy prices at first, but critics warn this would be short-lived. Once Canadian farms disappear, the country could become dependent on US supply, risking price swings and food security. Politically, any government that caves would face massive backlash for betraying a core industry. The cost of dismantling supply management could be higher than any trade dispute. For many Canadians, the system is part of their national identity. Removing it would tear at the fabric of the country. The US-Canada trade relationship is heading for a collision on July 1, 2026, the first joint review of the USMCA. This sunset clause lets any country refuse to extend the deal, triggering its eventual end. The US is using this as leverage, demanding changes on dairy and more. Canada faces a tough choice: make politically toxic concessions or risk the collapse of North American free trade. The stakes are huge, over $1 trillion in annual trade. Canada plans to push all disputes into the formal review, setting up 6 months of high-stakes negotiations. Both sides will fight for maximum concessions, with a single misstep risking economic disaster. The outcome will shape North American trade for decades. The world is watching to see if these neighbors can resolve their feud, or head for a messy divorce. The dairy dispute is just one ingredient in a stew of US-Canada trade irritants. The US is also angry about Canada's digital laws, which require streaming giants to fund Canadian content and tech firms to pay news outlets. The US calls these laws discriminatory protectionism. Meta has already blocked news in Canada in protest. There's also a spat over liquor. Most provinces still boycott US spirits in retaliation for American steel tariffs. Ontario's premier vows to keep the ban until tariffs are lifted. So good luck finding American whiskey in Toronto. The US also complains about local procurement rules, customs hassles, and even electricity disputes. All these issues make the 2026 review a tangled web of demands. Negotiators face a monumental task: untangling dairy, digital, booze, and more. Each side has a long list, and compromise won't come easy. The pressure is on to resolve not just one fight, but a whole cross-border brawl. The outcome will set the tone for years. As negotiations loom, both the US and Canada are risking a lot. Failure could trigger a trade war, hurting businesses, workers, and consumers on both sides. The North American economy is deeply integrated. A blow to one is a blow to all. A tariff war would disrupt supply chains, raise prices, and destroy jobs. The US risks losing its biggest export market. Canada risks economic catastrophe if the USMCA collapses. Retaliatory tariffs could hit everything from agriculture to manufacturing. For Canada, losing US access could mean recession and job losses. Both sides believe they're fighting for a just cause, but a failure to compromise means everyone loses. This dairy showdown is a microcosm of rising protectionism worldwide. The hope is that cool heads prevail before this Cold War over milk turns hot. Because in a trade war, nobody wins.